Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Agoracom in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives of what's going on at their companies. With us today, I'm happy to have again Alan Loan. He's president and CEO of Augusta Industries. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol AAO. For those of you who don't know the story, the company has two wholly owned subsidiaries that are operating and a third one that's on the back burner right now. First one is Marcon, an industrial supply contractor servicing the energy sector and a number of U.S. government entities. Their clients include, I'm going to read some of these, the Department of Homeland Security, NASA, Navy, and the Air Force, and out in the business world, Kuwait Oil Company and Qatar Gas, just to name a couple. The other operating subsidiary, FOX-TEK, develops non-intrusive monitoring sensor systems for the oil and gas market, and it helps them keep track of the thinning of pipelines and refinery vessels and things like that. Clients over there are the likes of Enbridge, Shell, and Chevron. Much of today's interview is going to be around FOX-TEK because it's being sold off. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, Alan, you just had an AGM. AGMs are very boring in a lot of ways because you're just confirming auditors and doing things like that. But this is a big one for you because Augusta is selling FOX-TEK to Mooncor, whose name is going to be Centratech, for a purchase price of up to $21.5 million, with about $9.5 million of that being in equity in stock in the new company. So there are a lot of things to discuss about what happened at the AGM. The first thing I want to touch on, the voting. Sometimes you might look on social media and you might think the voting would be really close with some of the critics, because critics tend to be louder on social media. You had overwhelming support on all resolutions. Give us an idea of the support you got, but more importantly, the kind of support you got when your votes weren't counted.
Yeah. So the AGM, as you say, most of the time is boring. This one was a little bit more exciting because we've had a lot of content, a lot of resolutions to vote on. Just not to bore you with all the stats, but two resolutions out of the list of resolutions we voted on, the delisting and listing on the CSE and the sale of FOX-TEK, we had to exclude, and we voluntarily did this, we had to exclude our votes, saying our meaning the board and the executive side of the business of voting. So even with that, we got over 80% for the transaction, 80% for the delisting and listing on the CSE. The rest were all above 90% for each and every single resolution. So it was not close at all.
Yeah, so overwhelmingly safe to say you have the support of shareholders. They're happy with the direction of the company. So let's go into that. The sale of FOX-TEK.
Yeah.
How is that going now? Because obviously there are other things that you've signed the documents to sell it. How's that going? What still needs to be done?
Okay, so we've got a few things that have to go through. One being on the Mooncor side, they have to vote in at the AGM next week on the 26th of July. And votes are being gathered right now, and that's going pretty well as far as I know. We also are, because of the delisting listing, we're also waiting on Mooncor to also list on the CSE. And of course, we are completing all the requirements. So all is well so far, and it's going in the right direction. So there are things to do and fill in the gaps sort of as we speak. But the trigger is really the vote at the AGM and special meeting for Mooncor Oil and Gas to change their name, to change their operation, to acquire, to do a rollback, and to list on the exchange and so on.
So presuming all that goes well at the Mooncor AGM next week, do you have a general, and we know that it doesn't all rest in your hands, but do you have a general ETA of what it would look like for the name change and the listing on the CSE and the acquisition to be finalized what that looks like time-wise? Is next 2 or 3 months, next 6 months? How's that look?
No, we've preempted that by starting the list on the CSC. An application went in beginning of the month. It usually takes 4 to 6 weeks to get approved. The AGM would be the first trigger. The second trigger would be the CSC approving the application. And if that happens, then it's just a matter of processing.
All right, so before we go into questions about some of the things that happen in the AGM, let's recap for everybody why you feel the sale of FOX-TEK is so great in terms of unlocking value for the shareholders right now, especially when you look at the market cap of the company versus just the shares alone you're going to be getting back in Muskwa. How great is a great event is this for your shareholders?
I think it's a positive move, and I'm not just saying that, just proof of concept here. On its own, it will do a lot better because it will shine on its own, be a very specialized company, not smothered by other entities within the umbrella of Augusta or in teleequity in the future. Unlocking value in the interim means we're getting $9.5 million worth of equity shares in the new company, owning 89% of FOX-TEK and Sensor Technologies. And the royalty scheme or licensing agreement that we have agreed to for another $12 million. That alone, just the equity part of the deal without the royalty, is double our market cap. If that's a positive in my view as a shareholder and as a CEO of Augusta and FOX-TEK at this time. We're getting a new board involved, new executive board. They'll have their vision, their direction, and I think they'll take it places on the cuffs of what we've been doing. So I think it's a general positive. That's unlocking value at this point, and onward and upward.
So do you think that's is that the response to some of the, again, some of the critics online that'll say we're losing FOX-TEK and you're selling this great asset and we're losing it? Is that what's the response you give to the very, very minority amount of critics out there?
Yeah, I hear. I'll pick just one email that I've received from a shareholder. Basically, they're up in arms. Oh, we're losing the best asset we have, the biggest asset we have. That's like selling it for nothing. We're not losing it. We own FOX-TEK 100% as a private entity. We are getting shares for the entity for the transaction. We'll own 89% of the sensor technology company that is they'll be the parent of FOX-TEK.
And so that's Muskwa's new name, just to make sure it's clear.
Yeah, Muskwa's new name
is Sensor-TEK. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll own 89% of Sensor-TEK. So instead of owning 100% of a private company, we own 89% of a public company. So we're not losing anything. The ownership structure has changed, and we get value by getting shares, equity shares that are listed on an exchange. That's the only difference, in my view, when it comes to the capital side of things, how the ownership structure is.
Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. Otherwise, we still own it. It's not going anywhere. A lot of reaction, not a lot, I shouldn't say that, but a few emails that I've received, comments on Agoracom saying, oh, you're selling an asset as if we're getting $1 for it. We're getting a share in exchange for consideration. So we're not selling it. We'll own it as an equity on our balance sheet. And depending on how that goes in the escrows, we'll get into that and see what sort of trickles down to the shareholder per shareholder.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because Augusta is going to own 89% of these shares. So naturally, we're going to have to expect that the exchange, which probably the CSE, is going to ask you to put some or all of those shares in escrow. That could range from 1.5 to 3 years. So how does that affect the decision of distributing some of those shares back to the current Augusta shareholders? Yeah.
So, like you said, the CSE, the exchange does control whether the CSE or any other exchange controls this factor. Because Augusta will be the single largest shareholder of Sensor Technologies by owning 89%, they will demand that shares be put in escrow. Now, whether it is a 3-year escrow or a 1.5-year escrow, we don't know. We're well represented. with lawyers to sort of negotiate with them on how that happens. And they do that for for certain reasons. They want to protect the shareholder base that owns Sensor Technologies Inc. because they don't want one large shareholder to go out and sell a majority or part of their shares and devastate the stock, which is a good idea. So it'll hold its pattern for a while, give the company a chance to grow, give the company a chance to trade with the major shareholder being kept behind sort of the 8-ball, not able to trigger any sales and depress the stock. So for those that are worried about the stock going down from X down to nothing, that only happens if there was no escrow. So I welcome an escrow, but hopefully a year and a half rather than 3 years.
And to be clear, is that so you can explain for everyone at home, is that a 100% escrow where all the shares are locked away for either 3 years or a year and a half, or is it that they're timed?
They'll release every 6 months.
Released, okay.
Yeah. So there's a small release probably at the closing, and then incrementally other small releases every 6 months for 3 years or for 1.5 years. Okay. So if 1.5 years, it's divvied up over the year and a half. If it's 3 years, it's the largest part of the shareholder, the shares held by Augusta will be escrowed till the final end. So I know different escrows, but I think half of it will be in the last year rather than in the first year.
And I'm probably actually looking into a crystal ball here, but do you have a sense of, when those shares are released every 6 months about what you think of doing as far as returning some of those to current shareholders, or is it too early to tell? And I don't mean specific percentages because I wouldn't think
I'm not going to get into. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the guessing game and percentages, but depending on the type of escrow, then I could release the percentage because it'll differ quite a bit. But it's also a testing factor for us as Augusta and our shareholders. If we release, and I'd hate to say this, but if we release a batch, say 10% of it, and it all gets dumped on one round, we'll think twice as hard the following release of how much we release to the shareholders. So they vote this by their actions. They, as in us, the shareholders, we vote this by if our actions are weak and we're weak hands and we dump the stock, then it'll be difficult to release the rest of it because we're going to do that as a return of equity possibly and not a dividend too, just to protect them from paying taxes on a dividend.
All right, so you've already given some great thought, and I'm glad that there is some planning there because that's right. You do want to reward, I guess, shareholders that are going to be holding for the long term, or shareholders just want to take a free gift and just throw it out there. Going back to the Augusta structure, soon to be in telequity. So there are a couple of major things that are going to happen here over the next couple of months or 3. You tell me the timeline, but I'm going to list them first, then we'll talk about them. You're going to be delisting from TSX Venture, and then listing immediately onto the CSE. The company is going to change its name from Augusta to telequity. It's going to change the nature of its business to an investment issuer as opposed to what it is now. And there's also the issue of the rollback. So I'm presuming, but talk in general first, and then I'll go through each one of those. But I'm presuming all those things you're probably going to want to do at the exact same time, correct?
Yeah, it'll be very close, like the change of name, the delisting, the listing again, the change in business, all that will happen all sort of in one shot once we get the green light from the CSE to list there and then delist on the TSX Venture. So that part of it will be in one shot.
Same question as before. Do you have a general sense of timing? Would it be the next 3 months, the next 6 months? Do you see all this happening on the Augusta side?
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to go out on a limb, but in the next few weeks we'll know, because Augusta is a lot easier because there's no transaction involved as far as listing. So I think it'll be in the next few weeks because from the rate of the questioning that's coming through right now and the type of questions we get from the CSE, it looks pretty good, but I won't go out on a limb. So let's call it August for now.
Yeah, okay. That's good to know. Actually, it's sooner than I thought. I was thinking maybe September, early October, but if you think you might be done by the end of August.
Yeah, our application went in June, so we've gone through a few relays back and forth on clarifications.
All right. The one question the one change that's coming that's probably, because it sounds like most people are okay with the listing and delisting. They're okay with the name change, and they want to talk about this new business, but we'll get to that. The one that seems to spook investors a little bit is the proposed rollback. Talk about that with everybody, because at the AGM you received approval for rolling back up to 1 for 20. But why don't you address that as to what you think of it, and why it's happening, and what it might look like.
Well, first of all, I look at it as a very positive thing. Besides our vote, we also the shareholder base, the majority and minority, voted highly for it, for the rollback. George, sometimes rollbacks are done for the wrong reasons, with the wrong people involved. In our case, I think it's different. We've got a change of pace. We've got a transaction happening that's going to qualify for our net asset value to increase from where we're at today, from our market cap, by the sale of FOX-TEK and receiving consideration shares. So we're not just selling it at the back and running with some cash to find the next opportunity. We still own it. It's a major asset of ours. Rollbacks, the way we've worded it is 20 for 1, and that's, people take it as, oh, it's going to be 20 for 1. It's up to 20 for 1. And there's going to be a lot of decisions back and forth deciding what we really do. And I don't want to go out on a limb and say I highly doubt that we'll do 20 for 1. The stock is depressed right now because a lot are scared off, saying, oh, there's a big rollback. If the stock tomorrow trades at 5 cents, the story changes a lot. Even if it trades at 3.5 cents, whatever. I mean, I'm just giving you different scenarios. But in reality, when you do a rollback and it's based on nothing and there's no change in opportunity or scope or space or a transaction, there are a lot of examples that they've done that on the cuffs of transactions, and the stock held up pretty well. And there are so many measures that we can take to support that stock, because again, you're looking at market cap. Its market cap is close to 4 million today. It'll be 4 million when you roll back.
And I think a lot of people are afraid of the term rollback. And you kind of touched on this. I'll kind of add my personal touch a little bit here. Usually we see rollbacks when a company has unfortunately not succeeded. It's blown up. It's finished. Directors have resigned. Operations have ceased. Bankruptcies are occurring, because that happens in small cap world. So what happens is, if everyone decides this is it, it's over, let's do a big rollback, finish it off completely, and then we'll find a new business and we'll go from making widgets to, selling gold or something like that, and it just starts all over again. But that's not the case here.
Yeah, frankly, that's not our case. We're not going through a bankruptcy. We're not getting out of business. We're actually expanding. All we're doing is selling for a considerable amount of shares in Sensor Technologies, and IntelliEquity switching from just an industrial issuer to an investment issuer, allowing us to seek opportunities that are very in exciting fields. And I just brush over the industry in the space, whether it's artificial intelligence or it's blockchain or it's technology. We have seen a lot of opportunities in the past that we weren't able to do some creative financing, raise some debt based on, basically whether asset-based debt or debt in terms of debentures, so that our shareholder base is not diluted, to support the stock and the value of the stock and the market cap. For it to rise, you're going to have to go out on a hunt. There's lots of exciting deals out there to get involved in, and we're diversifying for our shareholder, for ourselves, for the shareholder. Instead of owning 100% of every single company, our philosophy is changing. While we would be very involved and might have even board seats in certain opportunities that are coming our way, but we are going to passively invest and diverse, in a diverse scope where we pick up percentages of companies rather than 100%, and allow a more stable stock, a more stable market cap, and on the opportunity that we do divest, shareholders will see value in this opportunity. So I think a rollback is imminent, but it's on a positive spin rather than a negative downturn. Going out on a limb, I'd say it probably won't be 20 for one. And it's somewhere in between, and timing. I mean, we're not out there, getting the resolution done, voted on, and then go roll back the next day. That's what you find most companies do. They get the vote in and they roll back.
Do as fast as they can because they just kind of they need to blow something up and start from scratch.
They are. But in our case, we're not in a hurry to do any of that. So it's just a matter of how we do it, when we do it, and what's best for the shareholder base. You
mentioned earlier, about a minute ago, when you were going through that, about asset-backed debt, sort of raising some debt in IntelliEquity. So I'm presuming because you're going to have $9.5 million or $9.5 million worth of shares in Mooncore, which is soon to be FOX-TEK, you'll be able to borrow slightly against that. Like, for example, if you got $9.5 million stock, you'll be able to go borrow $1.5 million.
Our balance sheet's going to change incredibly. So we will have an asset. We will have opportunities to talk to some people on the street that will back a form of a debenture or some kind of long-term debt based on the balance sheet. In addition to if acquisitions are done and we're lead or key on certain acquisitions that have assets of some sort that we can do debt for backed by assets. So there are a few opportunities. I can't go into detail right now because it's not in the public realm.
I just thought about something, but maybe people are thinking about it at home. Will IntelliEquity, naturally the majority of what IntelliEquity be doing is acquisitions or big private placements, things like that, where you're lead investor in opportunities. Any chance you'll be doing open market? Do you know if that's in the mandate yet, where you might be making open market acquisitions of, small cap stocks that you might like, or cryptocurrency, where obviously you can't do a private placement, so maybe you go buy $50,000 of Bitcoin or something and just.
Yeah, I think in the private sector, pre-going public, we might do some that way, but a lot of seed type investments in companies that have a path to go public, or private placements in which you'd end up with warrants and shares, units. So it's a number of opportunities out there.
And your network, people might be thinking, well, how are you going to get access to those? Because they're, why are they going to be coming to IntelliEquity when they can go to all sorts of other people? So how do you presume, or how do you foresee those opportunities coming across your desk?
Yeah, every day, just as a private individual or CEO of an investment issuer, you'll hear deals. I have my own network. I know quite a bit of people. I've been around for a while, and opportunities are out there. So they're offered to you in an opportunistic way. We would look into it. But if it's just run of the mill, we're probably not interested as much. There's a lot of stuff that's private to public that we'd be very interested in.
Well, that kind of wraps up all of my questions. Excited to hear what you're doing and how you're moving everything along. Before I sign off here, naturally, I'm going to leave last word to you for everybody.
Well, I'd say I hope everyone's as excited as I am, because I think we're on the verge of starting a new opportunity on the cusp of what we've got today. Please support the transaction in your mind and in your heart as far as FOX-TEK. I know the overwhelming majority voted for it, but give it a chance. It will be an opportunity that we'll look back and smile and say we've done the right thing. We're not selling out. We'll be the owners. 89% of the floating shares of the new company, Sensor Technologies Inc. ex Mooncore, will be ours. So the value is there. As you can see with the market cap today, we're not even getting value for it. And that's the whole idea behind the spin out, being standing on its own, traded publicly, will be an opportunity. I have no doubt that it will be supported. And I look forward to talking to you about many more opportunities that will come along. And the face of Augusta / IntelliEquity will change dramatically in the next short little while.
Alan, thanks for giving that great summary. It looks like we're going to have you back sometime in August and September and October because so many things be going on. But thanks for joining us today, taking time out of your day in the summer while everyone's kind of taking it easy a little bit to answer our questions.
Look forward to it. Talk to you soon.
You've been watching Alan Loan. He's president and CEO of Augusta Industries. The company trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, not for long apparently, as AAO. And look for news of the company being delisted from the venture and listing on the CSE. In the meantime, to get more information about Augusta, for those of you who are discovering it for the first time, get to Agoracom, punch in the company's name or stock symbol, read their profile, watch the previous interviews we've done with Alan. One thing you're going to find is Alan's been very consistent. Everything he said the company's going to do, it has done and it is doing, and that'll come through loud and good in the videos. And then, lastly, it's a social media platform for investors to talk to Alan. So post your questions so everyone can see them, and Alan answer them so everyone can see them. Complete transparency. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Keep enjoying your summer, and make sure you do your follow-up on Augusta Industries. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.